What if I told you there's a countdown clock ticking inside your body right now? Not the kind you can see or hear, but one that doctors and researchers have learned to read through 7 subtle signs most people completely ignore. After 70, every year becomes a gift. But here's what most people don't realize. Your body has already decided how many of those gifts you're likely to receive, and it's been dropping hints for years. Some people in their 70s are still climbing mountains, traveling the world, and keeping up with their grandchildren. Others can barely make it to the mailbox without feeling exhausted. The difference between these two realities often comes down to a handful of markers that scientists have only recently begun to understand. What you're about to discover isn't guesswork. It isn't some wellness trend or internet myth. These are patterns that researchers have tracked across hundreds of thousands of people over decades. Patterns that can predict with surprising accuracy who will thrive past 80 and who won't make it that far. The most unsettling part? Most of these signs are things you can test yourself right now in your own living room. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you stand. But here's the thing, nobody tells you. These aren't death sentences, they're warning signals, and almost every single one of them can be improved if you know what to do. So let's start with the first sign. It's something you do every single day without even thinking about it. Number 1, your walking speed. Here's a question that might change how you think about your morning routine. How fast do you walk? Not when you're rushing to catch a bus, just your normal, everyday pace. The speed you move when you're heading to the kitchen or strolling through a parking lot. That simple number could be one of the most powerful predictors of how long you're going to live. Researchers analyzed data from over 34,000 older adults across 9 major studies. What they found shocked the medical community. Your natural walking pace is directly tied to your survival odds. People who walked at roughly 0.8 meters per second had life expectancies that matched exactly what statistics predicted for their age and gender. Those who walked faster consistently outlived expectations, and those who walked slower, their futures looked significantly shorter. But the real finding went even deeper. Our every tiny increase in walking speed translated into better survival odds. About 10% lower risk of dying for every small boost in pace. That's not a minor difference. That's the kind of gap that separates someone who sees their great-grandchildren from someone who doesn't. Think about 2 men. Let's call them David and Michael, both 76 years old, both retired, both living in similar neighborhoods with similar backgrounds. David takes a 30-minute walk every morning. Nothing extreme, just a steady pace through the neighborhood, sometimes stopping to chat with a neighbor, but mostly keeping a rhythm that gets his heart rate up slightly. He crosses streets with confidence. He doesn't shuffle. When he needs to speed up to catch a closing door, he can. Michael used to walk regularly too, but over the past few years, something shifted. He started slowing down. Not dramatically at first, just a little hesitation here, a bit more caution there. Now his wife finishes sentences for him while they walk because she's always a few steps ahead. He avoids stairs when he can. Crossing a busy intersection makes him anxious because he's not sure he can make it before the light changes. What's happening inside their bodies explains everything. Walking isn't as simple as putting one foot in front of the other. It requires your heart to pump blood efficiently, your lungs to deliver oxygen, your muscles to fire in coordinated sequences, your brain to process balance, spatial awareness, and dozens of micro-adjustments every second. Your nervous system has to be sharp. Your bones have to be strong enough to handle impact. When your walking speed drops, it's rarely about your legs getting tired. It's your entire system sending up a warning flare. Something underneath is struggling. Maybe cardiovascular function is declining. Maybe muscle mass is disappearing. Maybe neurological changes are beginning. Researchers now believe that walking speed captures information about your body that no single medical test can provide. It's like a summary score for your overall health, calculated in real time every time you take a step. The encouraging news is that walking speed isn't fixed. It responds to effort. People who commit to walking more frequently, even just adding 10 extra minutes a day, often see their pace improve within months. Those who add simple strength exercises for their legs see even bigger gains. The body wants to move. Sometimes it just needs a reminder. So here's a simple test you can try tomorrow. Find a hallway or sidewalk where you can walk about 15 feet. Time yourself walking at your normal, comfortable pace. If it takes you longer than 5 seconds to cover that distance, pay attention. Your body might be trying to tell you something important. And whatever pace you're at right now, know this: it can get better. Every step you take is a vote for a longer, stronger future. But walking speed is just the first sign. The second one is even more surprising because it involves something you do every time you shake someone's hand. Number 2, your grip strength. Most people think of a firm handshake as a sign of confidence, maybe professionalism, something you learned to do in job interviews or business meetings. But that grip reveals far more than your personality. According to research involving millions of people across multiple continents, the strength of your hand might be a better predictor of your future than your blood pressure. Let that sink in for a moment. The same squeeze you use to open a jar or carry a grocery bag could tell a doctor more about your mortality risk than some of their most trusted medical instruments. One massive study tracked people across 17 countries. They found that every 5-kilogram drop in grip strength correlated with a 16% higher risk of dying from any cause. And when they compared grip strength to blood pressure as a predictor of cardiovascular death, grip strength won. The hands don't lie. Another analysis combined results from over 40 studies, and people with weak grips were 67% more likely to die early compared to those with strong ones. That's not a small margin. That's the difference between two completely different life trajectories. Consider two women. Call them Ruth and Eleanor. Both 74, both active in their communities, both seemingly healthy on paper. Ruth gardens 3 times a week. She prunes roses, pulls weeds, carries bags of soil. She opens every jar in her kitchen without asking for help. When her grandchildren visit, she can still grip their hands firmly during prayers at dinner. Her morning routine includes squeezing a stress ball while she watches the news. Nothing elaborate, just a habit she picked up years ago. Eleanor noticed something different happening about 2 years back. Little things at first. Eye struggling to twist off a bottle cap, asking her husband to open packages, dropping a coffee mug she swore she had a solid hold on. She assumed it was just age. Everyone slows down eventually, right? But what Eleanor dismissed as normal aging was actually her body sounding an alarm. Grip strength doesn't exist in isolation. Your hands are connected to the same muscular and nervous system that supports your entire body. When grip weakens, it usually means muscle mass everywhere is declining, a condition called sarcopenia that affects nearly half of people over 80. This matters because muscles aren't just for lifting things. They regulate blood sugar. They protect bones during falls. They keep your metabolism running efficiently. They store protein reserves your body needs when fighting illness. When muscle disappears, and so does your resilience against almost everything. The medical community has started paying serious attention. Grip strength now appears in frailty assessments used by geriatric doctors worldwide. Some hospitals measure it during routine checkups for older patients. It's becoming recognized as a vital sign, as important as temperature or heart rate. What makes this particularly valuable is how easy it is to address. Unlike some health markers that require medications or complex interventions, grip strength responds quickly to simple exercises. Squeezing a tennis ball, using hand grippers while watching television, carrying light weights during walks. Even regular activities like gardening or cooking can help maintain what you have. The key is consistency. Muscles at any age still follow the same rules. Use them or lose them. The 75-year-old who does gentle resistance exercises 3 times a week will maintain more strength than the 60-year-old who does nothing. Here's something you can try right now. Reach out and shake an imaginary hand. Squeeze hard. Notice how it feels. Is there power there? Confidence? Or does it feel weaker than you remember? If opening jars has become a struggle, if carrying bags feels harder than it used to, if you find yourself avoiding tasks that require hand strength, don't brush it off. Your body is communicating something important. And the beautiful thing about grip strength is that it's never too late to rebuild. People in their 80s have regained measurable strength within weeks of starting simple exercises. The hand that feels weak today doesn't have to stay that way. Now let's move to the third sign. This one requires you to stand up, and it might be the most telling test of all. Number 3, your ability to balance on one leg. Stand up wherever you are. Lift one foot off the ground. Keep your arms at your sides. Can you hold that position for 10 seconds without grabbing onto something? If you just tried it and wobbled immediately, or if you couldn't manage more than a few seconds, you need to hear what researchers discovered about this simple test. A landmark study followed over 1,700 people between the ages of 51 and 75 for 7 years. At the start, each person attempted to stand on one leg for 10 seconds. Just 10 seconds. That's it. The results were stunning. People who failed that basic test were 84% more likely to die within the following decade. Not 84% more likely to fall, not 84% more likely to get injured, 84% more likely to die from any cause. The failure rate climbed dramatically with age. Among people aged 51 to 55, only about 5% couldn't complete the test. By ages 71 to 75, more than half failed. That 10-second window reveals something profound about what's happening inside your body. Meet two sisters, Clara and Vivian, both in their early 70s, both from the same family, same genes, similar backgrounds. Clara practiced yoga casually for years. Nothing intense, just some stretching and balance poses a few times a week. She can stand on one foot while putting on her shoes. She moves through her house confidently, rarely holding on to furniture. When the sidewalk is icy, and she's careful, but not afraid. Vivian stopped paying attention to balance decades ago. She sits most of the day. When she gets up too quickly, she feels unsteady. She keeps her hand on the wall when walking down hallways. Last year, she tripped over a rug and nearly fell. It scared her. Now she moves through her home like there's danger around every corner. What separates these sisters isn't just physical ability. It's what that ability signals about their brains, their muscles, and their nervous systems working together. Balance depends on 3 systems operating in perfect coordination. Your inner ear sensing position and motion, your eyes tracking the environment, and proprioceptors throughout your body telling your brain exactly where every limb is in space. When you stand on one leg, your brain has to process all that information and make constant micro-adjustments to keep you upright. A failure in any part of this chain shows up immediately in your balance. Muscle weakness in your legs or core, problems with the vestibular system in your ears. Neurological changes affecting processing speed. Circulation issues limiting blood flow to the brain. In other words, balance is a full-body exam happening in real time. When it starts to go, it's often the first visible sign that multiple systems are declining together. This explains why balance problems predict mortality so powerfully. They don't cause death directly, but they reveal deterioration that affects everything else. Falls become a massive concern too. Among adults over 65, falls are the leading cause of injury-related death. 1/3 of people over 65 fall at least once per year. For those over 85, the number rises to nearly half. And most falls happen not during adventurous activities, but during simple movements. Stepping off a curb, getting out of bed, turning around in the kitchen. The person with poor balance doesn't just face a higher risk of falling, they face a higher risk of the kind of catastrophic fall that leads to hospitalization, surgery, extended recovery, and the cascade of complications that can follow. But here's the part that should give you hope. Balance responds remarkably well to practice. Simple exercises done consistently can rebuild stability within weeks. Standing on one foot while brushing your teeth, walking heel to toe in a straight line, gentle Tai Chi movements. Even just standing up from a chair without using your hands engages all the systems that keep you balanced. The key is progressive challenge. Start easy. Hold on to something if you need to, then gradually reduce the support. Give your body a problem to solve, and it will adapt. One study found that older adults who practiced balance exercises for just 10 minutes a day showed measurable improvements in as little as 4 weeks. The nervous system wants to keep you upright. Sometimes it just needs proper training. So try this test now if you haven't already. Stand near a wall or sturdy surface for safety. Lift one foot just a few inches off the ground. See how long you can hold it. If 10 seconds feels impossible, that's not a reason to panic. It's a reason to start practicing today. Because every second you add to that number is a second added to your independence, and possibly to your life. Those are the first 3 signs your body uses to reveal how long you might live after 70. Walking speed, grip strength, balance. But we're only halfway through. Number 4, your sleeping patterns. What happens when you close your eyes at night might matter more than almost anything you do while awake. Most people think of sleep as downtime, a break from living. Hours that don't really count toward anything except rest. But scientists have discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about those quiet hours in the dark. Sleep isn't passive. It's when your body conducts its most critical maintenance operations. Your brain flushes out toxic proteins linked to dementia. Your immune system rebuilds its defenses. Your heart and blood vessels repair damage from the day. Hormones that regulate everything from appetite to mood get recalibrated. Skip that maintenance, and the consequences compound faster than anyone expected. A massive analysis of 79 studies involving millions of people found that sleeping less than 7 hours per night increased mortality risk by 14%. But sleeping too much, more than 8 or 9 hours regularly, raised the risk by an even higher margin. The body needs a specific window, and missing it in either direction causes problems. And it's not just duration that matters. The regularity of your sleep might be even more important. People with the most irregular sleep schedules, going to bed at different times, waking up unpredictably, showed mortality risks 20 to 88% higher than those who kept consistent patterns. Your body runs on rhythm. Disrupt that rhythm, and everything downstream suffers. Think about 2 men, Raymond and George, both 77 years old, both retired, both with similar health histories on paper. Raymond has kept the same sleep schedule for 40 years, in bed by 10, up by 6, even on weekends, even on vacations. His body knows exactly when night is coming and prepares accordingly. He falls asleep within 15 minutes of his head hitting the pillow. He wakes up once, maybe twice, but drifts back easily. Mornings feel clear. His energy stays consistent throughout the day. George's nights look completely different. Some evenings he's exhausted by 8. Others he's wide awake past midnight, scrolling through his phone or watching television he won't remember. He wakes up 3, 4, sometimes 5 times per night. The bathroom. Strange noises. Racing thoughts about nothing in particular. Mornings feel heavy. By mid-afternoon he needs a nap just to function. But those naps make nighttime sleep even harder. The cycle feeds itself. What George dismisses as just getting older is actually his body struggling to perform essential repairs. Poor sleep quality in older adults has been linked to faster cognitive decline, higher rates of heart disease, weakened immune response, increased inflammation throughout the body, greater risk of falls due to daytime fatigue, even changes in how the body processes blood sugar, pushing people toward diabetes. One study followed nearly 1,500 adults for over 6 years. Those who reported poor sleep quality at the start were almost 40% more likely to die during the follow-up period compared to good sleepers. That gap remained significant even after accounting for other health factors. Your brain has a waste clearance system called the glymphatic system. It works primarily during deep sleep, flushing out metabolic debris including beta amyloid, the protein that accumulates in Alzheimer's disease. When sleep quality drops, this cleaning process gets interrupted. Waste builds up, neurons suffer, connections degrade. The relationship goes both directions too. Poor sleep accelerates health decline, but declining health often disrupts sleep further. Breaking that cycle requires intentional effort. The good news is that sleep quality responds to changes more quickly than most people expect. Keeping a consistent schedule matters more than anything else. Going to bed and waking up at the same time, even when you don't feel like it, trains your body to anticipate rest. Reducing screen exposure in the evening helps because blue light from phones and televisions suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals sleep time. Getting natural sunlight in the morning resets your internal clock and makes nighttime sleep come easier. Avoiding heavy meals close to bedtime gives your digestive system a chance to settle. Limiting caffeine afternoon prevents stimulants from lingering in your system when you need to wind down. Keeping your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet creates an environment that supports, rather than fights, your biology. Even people who have struggled with sleep for years often see improvements within 2 to 3 weeks of making these adjustments. The body wants to sleep well. Sometimes it just needs the right conditions. So ask yourself honestly, how are you sleeping? Do you wake up feeling restored or exhausted? Is your schedule consistent or chaotic? Do you fight your body's natural rhythm or work with it? Sleep isn't wasted time. It's when your body builds the foundation for everything you'll do tomorrow, and the quality of those hours might be quietly determining how many tomorrows you have left. But sleep is just one part of the equation. What you put into your body during waking hours matters just as much, and there's one warning sign that most people completely overlook. Number 5. Your appetite and eating habits. When was the last time you truly enjoyed a meal? Not just ate because you had to, but actually looked forward to the food on your plate, savored the flavors, finished feeling satisfied rather than forcing yourself to clean up what was left. If that question makes you pause, you need to understand what researchers have discovered about appetite in older adults. Because losing interest in food isn't just an inconvenience, it's one of the most overlooked predictors of serious decline. A systematic review examining studies across multiple countries found that appetite loss increased the risk of death by 30 to 35% in community-dwelling older adults. Another massive analysis of over 1.7 million Medicare recipients found that people with documented appetite loss were more than 4 times more likely to die compared to those without it. Their median survival was just 4 months, compared to 26 months for the control group. Those numbers are staggering, and yet appetite changes rarely trigger the same alarm bells as chest pain or memory problems. Consider 2 women, Margaret and Dorothy, both 78, both widowed, both living independently in their own homes. Margaret still finds joy in cooking. She plans her meals, visits the farmer's market on Saturdays, and always has something simmering on the stove by late afternoon. She eats 3 meals a day with occasional snacks. Her weight has stayed stable for years. Food remains one of her daily pleasures, a reason to get out of bed and a reward for getting through the afternoon. Dorothy used to love cooking too, but somewhere along the way that changed. Now she looks at the refrigerator and nothing appeals to her. She skips breakfast because she's not hungry. Lunch is whatever requires the least effort, usually crackers or toast. Dinner sometimes doesn't happen at all. She's lost 15 pounds over the past year without trying. Her clothes hang loose. Friends have commented that she looks thinner, but she brushes it off. What Dorothy doesn't realize is that her shrinking appetite isn't a minor inconvenience. It's her body sending a distress signal. Appetite decline in older adults often reflects deeper problems. nutritional deficiencies that affect brain function and mood, medication side effects that alter taste and digestion, and depression that drains the pleasure from activities that once brought joy. Early signs of cognitive impairment that make meal preparation feel overwhelming. Underlying diseases that change how the body processes hunger signals. When food intake drops consistently, the consequences cascade. Muscles start breaking down because the body isn't getting enough protein. Bones weaken from insufficient calcium and vitamin D. The immune system falters without proper nutrients. Energy plummets. Falls become more likely. Recovery from illness takes longer. The body enters a state of gradual depletion that accelerates every other aspect of aging. Unintentional weight loss stands out as particularly dangerous. Studies show that people who lose 5% or more of their body weight without trying face significantly higher mortality rates within 1 to 2 years. That's not dramatic weight loss. That's 8 pounds for someone who weighs 160. An amount many people wouldn't even notice until it had been happening for months. The challenge is that appetite changes feel normal. Food preferences shift with age. Taste buds become less sensitive. Sense of smell diminishes. Eating alone feels less appealing than eating with others. It becomes easy to rationalize eating less as just part of getting older. But there's a difference between modest changes and a genuine decline in interest and intake. The key is paying attention to patterns rather than individual meals. Do you look forward to eating, or does it feel like a chore? Are you maintaining your weight or gradually losing without intention? Can you still taste and enjoy flavors, or does everything seem bland? Are you eating a variety of foods or defaulting to the same few things because nothing else sounds appealing? If the answers concern you, taking action early makes an enormous difference. Sometimes the solution is as simple as eating with others more often. Social meals naturally increase intake. Sometimes it requires a medication review with your doctor to identify drugs suppressing appetite. Sometimes it means screening for depression or other conditions affecting your relationship with food. Nutritionally dense foods matter more than ever in later years. Protein becomes critical for maintaining muscle. Healthy fats support brain function. Fiber keeps digestion working properly. And staying hydrated prevents confusion that can be mistaken for cognitive decline. Your appetite isn't just about pleasure. It's a vital sign telling you whether your body has what it needs to keep functioning. Ignore that signal, and everything else starts falling apart. Now let's move to something less visible but equally powerful: the way you handle the pressures life throws at you. Number 6. Your ability to handle stress. Stress doesn't announce itself with symptoms you can easily measure. It doesn't show up on blood tests the way cholesterol does. You can't step on a scale and see how much of it you're carrying. But make no mistake, chronic stress is quietly accelerating aging in ways that eventually become impossible to ignore. The connection between psychological stress and physical decline has been documented for decades. But recent research reveals just how direct that relationship really is. Prolonged stress triggers inflammation throughout the body. It raises cortisol levels that break down muscle tissue and weaken bones. It impairs immune function, making infections more likely and recovery slower. It contributes to cardiovascular disease by keeping blood pressure elevated and damaging arterial walls. Long-term studies tracking personality traits and health outcomes found something striking. People with higher emotional stability and conscientiousness showed significant advantages in longevity, not because they faced fewer challenges, but because of how they processed those challenges. Their ability to regulate emotional responses created a protective effect that accumulated over decades. Think about 2 friends, Arthur and Frank, both 76. Both retired executives who spent careers navigating high-pressure situations, both facing the typical challenges of later life. Health concerns, financial decisions, family complications, the loss of friends and loved ones. Arthur approaches problems with a specific mindset. When something goes wrong, he acknowledges the difficulty, then focuses on what he can actually control. He doesn't deny negative emotions, but he doesn't let them set up permanent residence either. He practices simple breathing techniques when he feels overwhelmed. He maintains routines that provide structure. He makes time for activities that bring genuine enjoyment rather than just distraction. Frank carries his stress differently. He dwells on problems, replaying worst-case scenarios in his mind. Small frustrations spiral into major preoccupations. He lies awake at night, worrying about situations he cannot change. His shoulders stay tense. His jaw clenches without him noticing. He snaps at family members over minor inconveniences. He can't remember the last time he felt truly relaxed. The difference between these two men isn't luck or circumstance. It's a skill that can be learned and practiced. Chronic stress keeps the body in a state of constant alert. The fight-or-flight response that evolved to help humans escape immediate danger gets activated over abstract worries that have no physical escape. This mismatch floods the body with stress hormones day after day, wearing down systems that were never designed for sustained activation. Blood pressure rises and stays elevated. Sleep quality deteriorates because the brain won't fully disengage. Digestion suffers as blood flow gets redirected away from non-essential functions. The immune system becomes dysregulated, sometimes underperforming against threats, sometimes overreacting and attacking the body's own tissues. Research has linked chronic stress to accelerated cognitive decline, increased risk of dementia, higher rates of heart attack and stroke, slower wound healing, and faster progression of existing diseases. The body simply ages faster when it's constantly under siege. The irony is that many sources of stress in later life involve things entirely beyond anyone's control. You can't prevent aging. You can't always stop illness from arriving. You can't force other people to behave the way you want. You can't undo decisions made decades ago. What you can control is your response. And that response matters more than most people realize. Practices that seem simple, almost too simple, produce measurable changes in how the body handles stress. Deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, countering fight-or-flight activation. Regular physical movement burns off stress hormones and releases counterbalancing chemicals. Meditation and mindfulness, even practiced briefly, change brain patterns associated with emotional regulation. Social connection provides perspective and support that buffer against isolation's amplifying effects. Even laughter produces physiological changes that reduce stress markers. Finding reasons to genuinely laugh isn't frivolous self-indulgence. It's maintenance for a system under constant strain. Ask yourself an honest question. When challenges arise, do you adapt and move forward? Or do you get stuck in cycles of worry and frustration that drain your energy without solving anything? The goal isn't to eliminate stress. That's impossible and probably wouldn't even be healthy. Some stress motivates action and sharpens focus. The goal is to process stress effectively, to let it pass through rather than accumulate inside. Your ability to stay calm when things get difficult isn't just good for your mood. It might be one of the most important factors determining how long and how well you live. But there's one more sign we haven't discussed yet, and in some ways, it might be the most powerful of all. Number 7. Your social connections. Here's a statistic that should stop you cold. The World Health Organization recently reported that loneliness is linked to roughly 100 deaths every hour worldwide, more than 870,000 people per year. Gone, and social isolation played a role. This isn't metaphor or exaggeration. The research is overwhelming. People with strong social connections consistently outlive those who are isolated. The difference rivals the impact of smoking, obesity, and physical inactivity combined. One landmark meta-analysis found that strong social relationships increased survival odds by 50%. Another found that social isolation raised mortality risk by almost 35%. Loneliness increased dementia risk by 50% and coronary artery disease by 30%. These aren't small effects at the margins. These are massive, life-altering differences determined largely by whether someone feels connected to other human beings. Picture two women, Eleanor and Patricia, both 78, both widowed within the past 5 years, both facing that transition from partnership to solitude that challenges so many in later life. Eleanor made a decision after her husband passed. She would not let grief turn into isolation. She joined a book club at the library. She volunteers at a local food bank twice a week. She calls her sister every Sunday and her children throughout the week. When neighbors invite her to dinner, she says yes, even when she doesn't feel like it. Her calendar has something written on most days. Patricia took a different path. After the funeral, she retreated. Friends called at first, but she didn't have the energy to engage, so eventually they stopped. Her children live far away and everyone seems too busy. Days pass without meaningful conversation. She watches television to fill the silence. She can't remember the last time she laughed out loud in someone's company. What's happening to Patricia isn't just emotional, it's biological. Human beings evolved as social creatures. Our brains developed complex structures specifically for navigating relationships. Our bodies regulate stress through connection with others. Isolation isn't just uncomfortable, it registers as a threat at the deepest levels of our physiology. When people feel disconnected, cortisol levels rise and stay elevated. Inflammation increases throughout the body, sleep quality deteriorates, blood pressure climbs. The immune system becomes less effective at fighting infection and more likely to attack the body's own tissues. The brain suffers too. Social interaction keeps cognitive systems active and challenged. Conversations require memory retrieval, language processing, emotional interpretation, and real-time response generation. Remove that stimulation, and neural pathways begin to weaken. Studies consistently show that socially isolated older adults experience faster cognitive decline and higher rates of dementia. One particularly striking finding came from research showing that the health impact of loneliness and social isolation operate somewhat independently. You can be surrounded by people and still feel lonely. You can have a small social circle but feel deeply connected. Both objective isolation and subjective loneliness carry risks. The combination of both is especially dangerous. The quality of connections matters as much as the quantity. Superficial interactions don't provide the same protection as meaningful relationships where you feel truly known and valued. Having 3 close friends you trust completely may benefit health more than having 30 acquaintances you barely remember. This presents both a challenge and an opportunity for older adults. Many circumstances of later life push toward isolation. Retirement removes daily contact with colleagues. Physical limitations make leaving home more difficult. Friends and family members pass away. Driving becomes harder or impossible. Technology creates barriers for those who didn't grow up with it. But connection remains possible at any age with intentional effort. And reaching out to an old friend you haven't spoken to in months takes 5 minutes and costs nothing. Joining a group organized around a shared interest creates regular opportunities for interaction. Volunteering provides both purpose and community. Simply making conversation with the cashier at the grocery store or the neighbor checking the mail exercises social muscles that weaken without use. For those with family nearby, asking for visits isn't a burden. It's a gift to both parties. Grandchildren benefit enormously from relationships with older generations. Adult children often feel better knowing their parents are engaged and connected. Even online connections, while not equivalent to in-person interaction, provide some protective benefits. And video calls that allow seeing faces and reading expressions engage the brain differently than isolation. Communities organized around hobbies or interests create belonging even across distances. The bottom line is stark. Humans are not meant to be alone. Our bodies and minds require connection the same way they require food and water. Deny that need, and decline accelerates. Meet that need, and something powerful happens that no medication can replicate. So ask yourself honestly, when did you last have a meaningful conversation? When did you last laugh with someone who knows you well? When did you last feel genuinely connected to another human being? If those questions reveal a gap, closing it might be one of the most important things you do for your health. The relationships you nurture today aren't just sources of happiness. They might literally be keeping you alive. You've just learned the 7 signs your body uses to reveal how long you might live after 70. Walking speed, grip strength, balance, sleep quality, appetite, stress response, social connection. These aren't abstract medical concepts. They're practical markers you can observe, measure, and in almost every case, improve. Take a moment to reflect on where you stand. Not with judgment, but with honest curiosity. How fast are you moving through your days? How strong is your grip on the objects around you? Can you stand steady when the ground beneath you isn't perfectly stable? Are your nights restoring you or draining you? Does food still bring pleasure, or has it become an afterthought? Do you adapt when challenges arrive, or do you carry them like weights around your neck? Are you connected to others in ways that matter? The answers to these questions paint a picture, not a fixed destiny, but a current snapshot that can change starting today. Every walk you take strengthens the systems that keep you moving. Every jar you open maintains the muscles that support your independence. Every moment you practice balance trains the neural pathways that prevent falls. Every night of consistent sleep allows your body to perform repairs it cannot do any other way. Every meal you enjoy provides fuel your cells desperately need. Every deep breath you take in a stressful moment protects your heart and brain from damage. Every conversation you have with someone who matters reminds your biology that you're not alone. These choices compound over time. Small improvements become significant advantages. What feels like minor effort today creates protection you'll rely on for years. The goal isn't simply to add more years to your life. Many people fear living longer if it means living diminished. The real goal is to add more life to your years. To stay sharp, strong, and connected for as long as possible. To remain the person you recognize in the mirror. The 7 signs we discussed aren't death sentences for anyone who's noticed they're struggling. They're early warning signals. Invitations to take action before small problems become irreversible ones. Opportunities that disappear only if you ignore them. Whatever your age, whatever your current condition, your body is still listening. It responds to what you do. It adapts to the challenges you give it. It rewards effort with resilience. The countdown clock ticking inside you isn't fixed. The choices you make starting today can slow it down, sometimes dramatically. So don't wait for a doctor to tell you something has to change. Don't wait for a crisis that forces your hand. The information is already there, written in how you walk, how you grip, how you balance, how you sleep, how you eat, how you cope, and how you connect. Read those signs. Trust what they tell you. Then do something about it. Because the years ahead aren't just given to you. They're built by the actions you take right now. We'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one thing you've learned today and how you plan to bring it into practice in your life. Your thoughts inspire us to keep creating content that informs and empowers you. If you like this video, please leave your comment below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to see you in the next video.